Hey folks, good afternoon. How are we all doing? Here is my third and last video for today. So, I'm still over at the Oscar Scherer State Park. However, though, I'm checking out something called the Lester Finley Trail. This is like one of their more shorter and interpretive trails. And you may be wondering, what exactly do I mean by interpretive? Well, that's where my line of work comes in, where there are signs along the trail that tells you what it is you're looking at, whether it be the plants, the wildlife, or what exactly is happening here. So let's take this interpretive sign for example. It's talking about what exactly is a hammock. And this was actually something I was discussing not too long ago. A hammock generally describes the habitat that I am walking in right now. Basically means that there's a lot of shade here. And oftentimes, the most prevalent trees that you'll see here are the live oaks. They're considered to be some of the most sturdiest and oldest trees in the state of Florida. They've even been known to withstand hurricanes that pass through a given area. But you figure what I'm walking on, this was at one point part of a beach. But due to sea level change and this land moving further inland, it eventually gave enough time to develop into this forest, as you can see. And I gotta say right now, the shade feels really good, because I was just walking out in the open not too long ago, and it was toasty. Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, this is actually indeed a really neat spot, you guys. Especially for those of you who want to have a bit of a shorter walk and want to find a bit more interaction along the trail. This is a great opportunity. But also, we've got, the Sable Palm, which you can tell based on the stem that it kind of has the shape of a spear or even a triangle. That's a way you can tell. And even though Sable Palm is considered to be the state tree, they aren't really trees, actually. Most palms are described as monocots, which has to do with their seed structure. So a monocot basically has a seed structure of one cotyledon. Cotyledon is what acts as the food storage for a seed. Great example of a monocot that I can think of right off the top of my head is corn. So you have one individual piece of corn that has one cotyledon in it, which basically means that it has one seed packet. But then you have something called a dicot, which basically describes seeds that have two cotyledons. It divides into two. Great example of a dicot are angiosperms in general, which are like flowering plants. So like for instance, you're about to have an apple, right? So you break open the apple. As you can see, with the seeds, it actually breaks up into two parts, or cotyledons, that store the necessary nutrients and food that begins the genesis of a new fruit. So those are dicots. But palms are monocots. So that's just something to remember, you guys. Monocots are also very closely related to grasses. So we could say that these palms here, they're more closely related to grasses than actual trees, because most trees are dicots. But it is remarkable too, like in a forest, there's also the process that we oftentimes take for granted too, and that is decomposition. Decomposition is what allows nutrients to be restored into the soil. So, take these palm fronds here, for instance. These will eventually break down by microbes that live in the soil. And once these break down, they'll break down into various pieces, and they'll help contribute to soil formation. And, as I've mentioned, restoring the nutrients into the soil. Some of these nutrients can include nitrogen, carbon, and even phosphorus. Those are like some of your main nutrients. There are others, but those are like the more prevalent. What's also neat too, along this trail, you have a chance to run along the South Creek. That's like one of the main bodies of water that is here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that is the South Creek. Yep, just a peaceful little stroll today. And here we've got our slash pine to our left. Those were very famous for turpentine production, which basically describes like a very sticky material, or is also known as gum turpentine. But you can see that there are several slash pines up here as well. Let me show you guys one more little section, and that should about wrap up the video. Give me just a second, you guys. Here we go, you guys. Here's a little section that I wanted to show all of you. So we've got ourselves the South Creek right here. Once again, you can see plenty of the tannins in the water. You're also bound to find plenty of mullets out here. Sometimes if you're lucky enough and you're out here long enough, you'll see them literally jump out of the water for just a few seconds, and then they go back in the water. Kind of reminds you of seeing dolphins jumping. But here we have a representation of a nearby watershed. And oftentimes how we treat the land often affects water quality, and vice versa. The way how we treat our water affects our land. Because oftentimes a lot of our wildlife relies on our nearby watersheds, as it supplies them water and part of the food chain as well. So that's why each action that we take, whether it be throwing away the trash, how much water we use, it all has a consequence on what it does to our fellow homies, and even our own water. Because water is a resource that we all have in common, in which we need, and makes up part of our bodies. Not just part of our bodies, but 70% of our bodies. Yeah, you can actually see a little bit of looks like a little bit of snook too that's in there. Wow. So cool, you guys. Nature never bores you. My philosophy has always been, if nature really bores you, then you're not really paying attention. Yeah, I definitely needed this for a couple of days. You know, nature is what helps keep my sanity. And, you know, the spirit of Mr. Journey on a Journey, of course. Oh man, I know I'm goofy, but just bear with me, right? So, thanks for watching, you guys. Hope you got something of value from the video that you can share among others, even for those of you who have kids. And, alrighty. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and thanks for your support. And once again, enjoy your Wednesday. Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks.